that level remotely.
I started recording.
Yeah.
I did have a, hey Julius, I did have a question for Steven, unless anyone else has a topic.
Shoot, if no one else.
You had said, I just wanted to clarify on one of your last comments, that you wanted you don't want to create any more diagrams to agree on a modeling language. When you say modeling language, are you thinking of like the choice between an ERD and UML, or are you thinking about a language like JavaScript or code?
I'm talking about a specific, even if UML stands for unified, there's still different standards of UML. Same with ERD, there's different interpretations and different reasons for using it. So I just mean pointing to a specific specification we can all look at and use that as a point of reference.
I think that would be helpful. I feel like we could go ahead without that, because I mean, the UML diagrams I've seen make my brain hurt, because I'm much more used to ERDs. The only thing is I think it's a bit challenging when we kind of go in and say, okay, this field is a UUID. We need to get down to that level of detail, but I'd like to have the flexibility to say, okay, we just know we need an ID, and we're gonna expound on that later. So I think somewhere when you were using Kotlin, you had to, in order to fulfill the language requirements, you kind of put in a level of detail that I thought went to.
I actually replaced that. I replaced it in a later commit with a typalize, where it does exactly what you said right now. It just replaces it with ID. I can link you to it for the same reason as you're mentioning right now.
Yeah.
Like any type you might still want to specify later. I right now just use a typalize in Kotlin. The typalize is nothing more than you rename a type basically.
Okay.
So I now call it.
I mean, now that I know that, it's not really intuitive, but yeah. Although you know, my hope at the other call was that we'd get something a little bit more diagrammy. So if anyone wants to just propose, I'd suggest an ERD.
Before you propose a diagram, because you keep saying ERD, you also need to propose what to diagram. Is it the entity relations, or is it the database, or is it?
I mean, that's a good point. I would say it's the file transfer. It's the single file transfer, not the API, would be my preference.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
Because that's the simplest, just because I think you could build from there. So it keeps it simple in a complex space, even though I know Mark Antoine feels that things are interrelated.
No, it's not just that. It's a question of levels, right? Layers. Like, for example, I'm not exactly proposing RDF, but let's say I were. Then the wire transfer would be RDF, and that doesn't tell us much about what gets encoded as RDF. Like, there's layers of diagrams. One is the data transfer, and you know, RDF can be. I can say, oh, I'm transferring the RDF as JSON LD. I still don't know what structures are. And so there's the layer of kind of implementation, there's the layer of what structures are we talking about, and there's the layer of API, which I also think is important, which is another story. But what I'm saying is, when you speak of the wire, I'm thinking of very much a low-level transport layer, like JSON LD, which doesn't tell me what structures I'm transmitting.
No, I'm talking about the data model of the wire, not the wire itself. So that to me is generally just a bunch of boxes with a title for the object and what the fields are that would be transferred. But I don't want to worry about how it's represented in the database, because we could all choose different ways to represent it. And then you get into indexing and stuff like that. I don't want to worry about that yet. So just like if we had to transfer, and that also, you know, if we're going to transfer data from one system to another, regardless of the final implementation, whether it's RDF or JLD, what's the structure of those objects?
I was giving it as an example, yes. Jamie, you haven't been here for a while, so I think I should give you a bit of update on what's been happening.
I would love that.
What?
I would love that.
Yeah, have you, I guess you haven't listened to the to the recordings, and you
No.
missed a lot of our arguing. So basically, we've been over, I've been shoving a lot of linguistic philosophy down everybody's throat. We've been talking about the distinction between the symbol, the idea it represents, and the outside referent in the world, and what we can model in terms of, since we're dealing at the symbol level, at fundamental level, but we want to say that these claims are, sometimes there's two phrases or sentences that express the same claim or thought or whatever, and hence we need to model this thing in between, but we agreed that this is done through equivalence relation between surface level symbols. So it was a long detour to get there, but I think the detour was necessary. I don't know if we've all agreed on this equivalence relation, but I think we have ultimately. Stephen, maybe you want to, because you were speaking about sets of sentences, so I think that's equivalent. Yeah. And then today we said we'd get back to entity diagrams, but I didn't have time to finish my latest entity diagram. I don't know if Tim had time to revise his, given the conversation and Stephen's same comment.
So can I check my understanding about what you just mentioned,
Sure.
Marc-Antoine? Okay. In addressing, for the example that you gave, in addressing the problem of figuring out a way to associate claims that are essentially expressing the same meaning, instead of someone just being like, yeah, these claims say the same thing, it's about deconstructing the claim to the entity level and matching those entities, such that if there was an additional entity, like some sort of description, which would occur as an adjective in a sentence, that would identify the claim as being somewhat distinct from another claim, given that there's not a complete match of entities, descriptions, yada, yada.
I did not go there at all.
Oh, okay.
I tried to go there. It didn't. But Stephen said, let's start with the claims themselves, and let's see if we can. The distinction you speak about, can we express them at the level of the claims? And so we coined the term declarative sentence, which is basically a symbol representing a claim.
Since this is the modeling discussion.
Okay, I can catch up later.
On the philosophical linguistical discussion, like either in between or during that meeting, because I don't think this is gonna, I feel like we're gonna spend a lot of time on this.
Okay, I wanted to give a kind of nutshell.
I know, but does it directly impact the modeling discussion is the question.
I thought it would make the modeling discussion more intelligible to Jamie, but that's it.
Thank you, Marc-Antoine. I'm happy to suspend whatever I don't understand for the purpose of moving on so that this meeting is as effective as possible. So, all right.
Yeah, Bentley and I have been having a side chat. So I think for the purpose of focusing on data modeling, we should agree on a modeling notation. I think we've seen many models presented. Each of us had our own notations and even adoptions to those notations. So to move that process forward, I suggest at least agreeing on a notation. And for me, it can really be anything.
Then what are the things we want to represent? Everybody agrees we want to represent domain objects as defined in domain modeling, I guess, and probably entity relationships relationships between these things, right? Does everybody also agree we want to represent to some degree attributes that we see inherent in these objects or models, like ID or something like that? So I don't know if that narrowed it down anything, but we probably want something at that level. Do we want a model that specifies the exact data type or format? Do we care about that at this point?
I think I would tend to want to postpone that aspect personally, but I think we'll have to get there eventually, of course.
So maybe ERD is too detailed, or we could do ERD and explicitly state that data types should be ignored for now.
Do we want to listen to Gene's
I just meant I'm completely indifferent. Aggressively defer, meaning very passively.
Okay, I see.
Yeah,
I don't even know what the choices are. So if someone wants to propose.
Well,
I'll propose ERD and let's ignore the data types on.
Can you please send a link to an authoritative source of the specification you follow, Timothy? Because ERD shows up like 20 different diagrams if you Google for it. That's the exact problem. Maybe even suggest a tool that has the default building blocks built in it.
So the tool I would suggest, although I don't know if it have what Tim would have, but Google, since we have documents in Google and Google supports, I can't remember the name of the tool. Let me look it up.
Well, Google Graph, like the graphing tool in Google, but it doesn't have any ERD specific. It may have ERD templates.
No, well, I'm talking about one that has quite a few. It's
okay,
specific. Good. I just can't. It's a big one, but they have a free version for Google that's pretty robust. See if I can find
I'm very partial to UML, of course, because I think it can express subclassing relationships that ERD cannot.
So diagrams.net, they have a Google sheet, a Google Docs plugin that's free to use. And I've done several diagrams in it, and it says it has UML. I don't think they have something labeled ERD, but like I said, that term's a bit vague. But I bet that has the power of doing whatever we want.
I'm trying to pull up what I used for mine. Also, I would be interested to hear from Marc-Antoine which types of relationships might be better expressed through UML or cannot be expressed through ERD.
UML, the class diagrams at least, well, the whole notion of class, subclass, instance, class, those can be expressed better in UML. Like I can do instance diagrams in UML as examples, for example. I can say that those have this in common, those things have this in common. I can have some classing in UML, which I cannot in ERD. Is that, I think it's more synthetic when you have a common class. I use Plant UML, as I said in my little presentation. I was happy with it because I find it, because I can express it as language instead of manipulating boxes on a screen, which takes forever. I find it convenient, but that's.
Yeah, one of the challenges with the display of that though is it seemed like you couldn't see all the data unless your screen was a certain shape.
Yeah, well, it's because I was mixing a bit I was mixing text and diagram. Maybe if I alternate them or something. Maybe I should do that. I'm still trying to figure out how to express columns in Reveal.js.
It was just weird that there was no scroll bar on it, so I couldn't.
Yeah, that's a bug, really.
Okay, that's what I thought. That's yeah.
What is the aversion actually to using class diagrams from all entity relationship models in UML? Because I'm with Marc-Antoine on this, like subclassing and interfaces and stuff like that are very important concepts. And I've been looking a bit at ERD, and it seems like there are extensions on top of it that support that, but it doesn't indeed seem to support out of the box, which as a primarily object-oriented developer myself, but yeah, I don't know. What are the struggles with it?
I'm actually very comfortable with UML. Bentley is not a fan of
change if everyone else wants to. It'll just be painful.
What's the pain point? I'm curious.
I don't know.
Okay. Right.
Just when I look at them, there's something about the design choices and the visual layout that is counter to my past 30 years of experience. So it's just a mind shift. But
it also makes sense to make your diagrams more legible, is to create multiple rather than putting everything in one. Like just create multiple perspectives.
And that's true of both UML and ERD. I mean, and it's funny because we had this conversation. I tried to break down my diagram in little pieces, and I had pushback for that. And I was surprised because I thought it was more palatable in small pieces. where I argued for each choice separately, and no, we want to discuss the whole thing at once. I said, okay, so I'm just surprised.
Well, I don't know. I came away with the opposite understanding, so I don't know how we ended up with two different interpretations of the same meeting. But
I think it's the same as, when you model arguments as columns versus a graph or a tree is good for some things, bad for another, and some people like one or another. I don't think it's. I think people had different opinions, but I would summarize, in my opinion, UML class diagrams are much better for ISA type relationships, inherited. I think that ERD is much better for replicating the interchange format, which is more data oriented. But I think we want both. And at the phase we're in, maybe it's better to be discussing still at the kind of class inheritance level of ISA, because we're still kind of discussing how we envision the model for the main model.
And in theory, the translation of UML to ERD is straightforward, whereas the reverse is not true.
All right, so do we have a tool? Do we want to try Plant? Is Plant UML web-based at all, or is it?
There are web-based versions. It's something that it's basically a jar file. You run it, and it will take a textual description of the UML, like Java syntax classes, and generate the diagram from it as quite a few things, but notably SVG. I use SVG, and basically there's web servers where you can just paste the text description, and it will give you the image, which you can download in Ping, SVG, JPEG, whatever. And I have a server running on I have a Plant UML server running on my machine, on my public server. So I'll give you the URL. And that means in my Reveal.js, I can just intercalate, here's Markdown, here's Plant UML, here's Markdown, here's Plant UML, here's Markdown, here's Plant UML. And the Reveal.js will call the server and put the SVG diagram in the right place, which makes for very convenient presentations. And I can help you I can give you the address of my server so you can use it. And I can show you how that is a fact. There are authoritative specifications for UML. It's very well defined.
Well, I think we just need to do probably a majority vote and just move on, because I don't think the actual tool
yeah, we don't need precision.
It's not important.
And most of UML is to somehow automatically generate code, unambiguous code from diagrams. We don't want that. We just want it as a communication tool. So I don't think we even need to pick a specification. In fact, usually when I use diagrams like this to communicate, I just label what the arrows mean or whatever. So you don't have to have the same specification on each one. But maybe let's try to start out with what we think is standard UML. And if there's any confusion over what an arrow means, then we can try to get more specific.
UML is actually quite flexible by design. So for example, inheritance, you can just as well model as a dependency arrow, but it's just more accurate to model it with an inheritance arrow. But it's fully correct UML to just have a dependency arrow as well. So you can choose the level of detail, basically. What you cannot do is use the wrong blocks.
I do think we want to model distinctions between inheritance relationship, a plane association, a composition, and
aggregation, composition.
So like a plain arrow might be a uses. An association, right, is the this is made up of these things. It's important to them, but they're not. It's not a.
But they exist independently. Where unlike composition, where if the parent gets deleted, the
The children.
The children are meaningless and die.
With aggregation composition, hollow in the full diamond.
I think those basic concepts are probably
meaningful.
enough detail. We probably don't need more than that for this discussion.
So are we modeling attributes on the objects or just the objects themselves?
Well, the relationships between the objects primarily.
We said we would model attributes, but to the degree that data type is not important and the fact that some attributes are listed does not exclude the existence of other attributes later, I think. Okay. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, postponing data types and otherwise speaking about the. Yeah, I think we agree on that.
All right, so we kind of have a tool. We kind of have what we're gonna.
Well, which tool are we suggesting? We're saying
we don't have a tool. We have a model.
Yeah.
So Marc-Antoine, your tool, is there a learning overhead, and also is there a dependency on you in order for any of us to start?
There's no dependency on me. I could try to run you through the basics very quickly with a screen share because it should be familiar because it looks like code.
Screen share. In fact, what we could do is we could start a design discussion and you share your screen and model it. That might be interesting. So let's start off the top of our heads doing a model.
Yeah, I think that is a good idea, actually. Yes. So, okay. So what I have, let me first show you the problems. Okay, it wants, okay, first share screen. Desktop 1, desktop 2 will be easier. So this is, we probably want the English version. So this is the Plant UML website. I've put it in the Zoom chat. And 1 second. Yeah. What you do is, did I have it running elsewhere? No. Okay, good. So what you do is when you have Plant UML, and for me, Plant UML was installed as a command line, but really what it is Java jar, the Plant UML jar, and whatever arguments. So this is Plant UML is just an alias for that. And I'm saying output as SVG and give me the GUI. And what the GUI does, the reason why I want the GUI is that it watches. Now, where is the GUI? Thank you. Oh,
there's also a online version of this, right? That you don't even need to run.
There are online versions. Let's look into this. Getting started, online server. So
that might serve the purpose for now.
Yeah. So this is a start UML. This is a more sequence diagram, which is not what we want. So what I would have most likely is class X, well, A is good. And then I'd say it has an attribute, which is X submit. And then I have my class A with X. So I'm basically doing Java-like class B. And it's got, and I can say A has a relationship. Well, it has, this one has A, and so A to B, and I think I want a star here if I remember well. No, let me postpone the star. Okay, what am I doing wrong? Sorry, I need to remember every time because it's easy, but that doesn't mean I remember it perfectly. Let me look at my existing code. By the way, this is my my presentation. So basically I can do this topic, blah, 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 blah. And then, so that's actually a good real example. So if I look at this one, I don't even introduce the classes here. And I'm just saying this class has this ID. I'm doing the arrow. I'm putting the cardinalities. This allows me to put a label on the relation. And the label has an arrow given here. I can put the arrow either way, but it tends to go left, like top to bottom, depending on the order in which I put the terms. So this will be an arrow with topic at the top and topic literal at the bottom. And if I put, and that's kind of separate from the direction of the arrow. This is the inheritance arrow. If I want this would be aggregation, and this would be composition. And those are very much the essential. And then topic literal value, this is how I express the attributes. Is there more elaborate examples in here? So if I take this, because it's as good an example as any, and put it in, oops, no, in the start UML and UML topic, submit, I get this. So here we see how the represents here, it's this. So from topic to text literal, so text literal is below, here's the arrow, and this means that there's this little black thing saying that represents is from here to there.
I'm actually not certain about that little black arrow. I haven't seen it as part, but I can look it up in the specification.
No, it's not in the spec. It's not in the spec.
Okay.
Like
I would argue against using it then, but
I think, see, in classical UML, and Plant UML does differ a bit. In classical UML, you would allow to have two labels, one for here for traversing the arrow this way, and one here for traversing the arrow the other way, which would be better. But that's a limitation of Plant UML. The full package UML tools I find are either expensive or hard to use. Argo UML is free. Rational Rows is exorbitant. But I find using this so much easier than Argo UML that I tend to go back to it all the time, because I can just type the diagram components and get what I want. Now, where I do agree, yeah.
Does the direction of the black arrow with represents, does that have meaning?
It's saying that the text literal represents the topic, as opposed to saying the topic represents the text literal. So that's, yes, it does. And so this is, yes, this is an extension to UML, and it, basically otherwise we'd have represents here and is represented by there. Which would be,
I mean, I'm fine with using it. I just wanted to check in because I had never seen it before other than your diagrams. But I'm fine using it if we all agree that's how we use it.
So my impression from all of this is that it's it's a learning curve for people who are very visually oriented. I was very hesitant at first to take this approach when I saw it, but it looks simple enough, and it has the advantage of being easy to take somebody else's code and modify it a little bit, as opposed to copying over diagrams and messing around. It starts to get pretty heavy and messy.
I like the fact that you can do a diff on this.
Like, I would suggest either this or something like a Google app designer that's totally kind of informal and drag, and we can put it in the folders. But in terms of sharing and modifying people's works and versioning work and stuff like that, this gets to be more usable, I think, over time. I don't know, what is everybody else's impression of this versus just a kind of WYSIWYG type approach?
Well, I really like the fact that you can put this in Git, source control.
Fully agreed.
This for me is the beauty of Plant UML. You can put it in Git and diff, which is so amazing.
Okay. So should we then give this a shot? Everybody yes on Plant UML?
By the way, it's in Homebrew for Mac users, so you can just brew install Plant UML. And then you have the Plant UML alias command. But as I said, if you look at the Plant UML command, it's basically just calling the Java with whatever vmargs and calling the jar file and then passing on the arguments. So it's Java, plant UML jar, and the arguments. And then you get, because I do SVG GUI, as I said, I have this thing that watches. There's a pattern jam. Okay, it's here. Oh, it's in another directory. It's looking in another directory. So you can tell it go in this directory or that directory. So this is planning OGM. And then it creates the SVGs. It maintains the SVG as the .puml file changes. And then I have another tool which is about visualizing SVG and again keeping it alive, and that's a Mac tool, but there will be something equivalent for whatever system you use. Visualizing SVG is a common task, but this one, Gaplin, gives me up-to-date live update of the SVG. You can also get the Plant UML to generate PNG instead of SVG. I mean, your choice. And as I said, the really cool machinery I have is the ability to put it in text and have just language Plant UML, and then I can just put Plant UML in the middle for Reveal.js presentation, which I think is really nice. And unfortunately, I have to do acrobatics when I want it to float, but it can be done. So that's how I built my presentation. It took me a while to get to the point where that worked, but now it's just text, 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 and I have the presentation you saw, which is, yeah, this thing where I mix text and explanation and I use Pandoc to generate the HTML from the. But let's not do that now. Let's just do a pure. We said we'd do a pure.
Modeling session here.
Exactly. Let's do it. Why the double? Anyway, that's not important. I want to redirect my Java to look here. And it's called, oh, no, that should be here. Why doesn't it? Oh, yeah, it's there. Okay. So actually what I have to do is, I don't know, that's a bit stupid. Choisir. Oh, Lord. Oh, it created all the SVG from index.html. Cute. From the MD, probably. Okay, whatever. That's a lot of crap. Now comment is SVG is empty, but if I say we agreed on declarative sentence and Gaplin okay, so we have a beginning. So let me make that this, and we can start. So we have declarative sentence.
There's a typo there, though.
What?
Small note, there's a typo. Now it's a declarative sentence.
Thank you. Absolutely. Let's get that right. And we said, let me actually get, where is, the screen is a bit small for this. We were working, no, this is in the way, sorry. Come here. We were working in Miro, no, in Trello. And of the, I would say declarative symbol is a thought, but as a symbol, sorry, but let's not go there yet. I was proposing the distinction of quotes and the empirical sentences. Declarative quote and empirical sentences. I don't know if that was a consensus yet, but just to show how it would, declarative quote and then declarative sentence, declarative quote. And if I save that, it should show like this.
And I need to refresh myself on the ML thing. What are we saying the relationship is there?
This is inheritance.
Okay. And the C just implies classes, right?
Yeah, we can hide the C, by the way. There's a trick to hide the
That's
C.
fine.
Yeah, it's also not default specification even, I think. Let's see. Not certain.
That's correct. I'm happy to erase it. I don't remember the code to erase it, but can't be. Let me check.
I mean, we get back to, like, I've agreed on a glossary term for declarative quote. I don't see a need for it in the system. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Now I was looking for a good second class that was consensus, and the reality is we've only really achieved consensus on declarative sentence.
Well, claim. We know we need a claim, right? We can then put in claim, and I think so far the idea is that
we haven't agreed on what we mean by the word claim. I did claim
we don't have to. We know that we're going to want an object called claim, and we can evolve.
I don't know that we mean at all the same thing by claim. I did say it was equivalent to declarative topic. I don't know if there's agreement on that, because I can very clearly say what the relationship between declarative sentence, declarative topic is. Between declarative sentence and claim, I have no clue, unless we agree on that. But I don't, okay, what do you mean by claim?
I mean something that can be agreed with or disagreed with, true or false.
That is true of both declarative topic and declarative sentence and declarative thought.
Not in my definition. No.
Sorry, I did not hear that. Too faint.
I mean, we're doing a model system design, and it is the thing upon which one expresses agreement or disagreement. How about that? The claim is the thing upon which one expresses agreement or disagreement.
That I would say that this is the declarative sentence.
So if we have multiple, well, does a declarative sentence?
Okay, but let me ask you this: Can a person agree with the Earth is not flat, and disagree with the Earth is flat is false?
No. Okay. Look, what I'm saying here is, I think by claim you mean the common meaning of many declarative sentences. Am I right? I'm just checking that.
The claim is the thing for which people will agree with or disagree, and against which they will make arguments.
Okay. No. Sorry, you did not answer my question. I'm saying people will agree or disagree with a declarative topic, which is what is common to many declarative sentences that are agreed to have the same meaning by people agreeing on it. But they agree on it through I'm claiming they agree on it through the proxy of agreeing on representative declarative sentences, because the claim is only expressed through declarative sentences. The declarative topic is only expressed through declarative sentences. So the agreement, though it is with the underlying common meaning.
But you're talking about agreeing something about it, that it should exist, or that it should be associated with it.
No, I'm trying to make sure that this is what you mean by claim. I'm not sure we are aligned in the meaning of claim.
I did say this would happen, and
Yep.
I mean they're necessarily intertwined, clustery, but for the sake of approaching it from a data modeling perspective, the question you need to ask yourself: if you store, Timothy, this is a question for you, a claim in a system, where will you store when you represent that claim? Where will you store that, and how will that be stored in this model you're modeling right now?
I don't know what you mean by where will you store it, because
like, so give an example of a claim, and then suppose that you have a system and you need to render that claim. How do you store it in the model you're modeling right now?
I mean, I would store it in a class called the claim.
What attribute does that class have?
What attribute does the claim have? It has an ID. And then depending on how we want to model the declarative sentence as we understood it, it could have a either association or composition relationship with declarative sentence. In other words, a claim has many declarative sentences, is made up of many declarative sentences, and it has an ID. The rest would be other associations with other objects or models we haven't talked about yet.
I think declarative topic and claim are the same. I'd like you, if you don't think so, I'd like you to tell me how they're different. But I did declare declarative topic is the equivalence class of declarative sentences modulo the fact that people have agreed that they mean the same thing. So for me, there's something which is the, and by the way, no, I'm getting the syntax wrong. Thank you. And there's the, how did I call it? I called it a statement relation. I'm saying there's an explicit statement relation. Now, whether it's materialized or not, but let me actually do it as a materialized thing, because it's a bit declarative statement, declarative statement equivalent, and I'm saying, and that's a tricky one, by the way, in terms of plant UML statement. That one, I'm doing something wrong still. That is the declarative, no, statement relation. Does that work? Probably not. No. There's, what is the syntax for that? I've used it. Okay. No. Okay. It's not declarative statement, it's declarative sentence. Is it? Which one did we use? Sentence. Okay, sentence. So I'm saying there's a statement relation, whether it's materialized or not. I mean, it's materialized, whether it's materialized as a class or just a relation without further attributes is still open to discussion. But this is the equivalence relation. This is probably a one-to-one. I mean, it's a many-to-many. No, it's a many-to-many, though it's one at a time, right? The declarative topic, or I suspect claim, is the result of this equivalence relation. And for me, there's many possible statement relations. One of them is declaring the equivalence. Another one is declaring the non-equivalence. And the other one is declaring the precision between two sentences. There may be others, but at least these three. And maybe I would like subclasses to express that, or have what I would probably do is have a statement relation type, which I would declare as an enum. But the equivalence of declarative topic is only on the equivalence relation.
When exactly does a declarative topic suddenly come into being under this view?
Fair question. For me, anytime I'm creating a declarative sentence, I create the declarative topic at once preemptively. That's my approach. And then I unify them afterwards. I'm not saying it's the right approach, but I'm saying every declarative sentence has a topic because it makes it easier for me to think about these things.
Just a quick UML side note, isn't the dependency from declarative topic to declarative sentence and not vice versa? There's no definition, there's no use of declarative topic within declarative sentence, right? It's the dependency points the other way.
Good question. See, in ERD or in database, I would tend to have a point, like I would have a foreign key from sentence to topic, because it's a one-to-many. It's a many-to-one, and this is how you do many-to-one in the database. Now, you're speaking about a conceptual dependency, which is a different aspect than the database modeling aspect. For me, every sentence is supposed to have a meaning. So there is a dependency already at the conceptual level, but I understand that is a point of debate. I put the arrow this way as a point of database modeling.
When an argument gets created, it will have a relationship with what?
An argument is a relationship between two declarative sentences. I mean, first, an argument is a declarative sentence in and of itself, and hence it will have its declarative topic. It will be a subclass of declarative sentence. The way for me, declarative sentence is a subclass of symbol. And it will also have component, premise and conclusion, premises and conclusion, we went through that, which are the, which will also be declarative sentences. So I think
you haven't answered the question. You've more said what it's made out of, but what is it supporting?
What is what?
You said what it's composed of, but the question is what is it supporting or opposing?
The argument, that's different. I did not get into support or oppose yet. I said an argument is a declarative sentence.
That's the question I'm asking. That is the question I asked. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Well, that no, that's the link. I did answer that, by the way, and this is what I was beginning to model. This is argument and conclusion, and that's a one. And that's probably an, oh, come on. What's the problem here? What am I doing wrong? Only this, okay. Oh yeah, I should say what it's declarative. Oh.
And yeah, and so that's a major point of contention.
It is.
I would prefer, like for me, a claim is the thing which has arguments, to which arguments refer. The conclusion is a claim. Regardless, shouldn't that be a no? Okay, yeah.
But since
if we're saying declarative topic is equivalent to claim, then it would be declarative topic that
the declarative, okay, I'm saying declarative topic is equivalent to claim. Okay, do we agree that the argument has premises and conclusion, which are declarative sentence? I understand this is contentious, but do we agree on these two?
That could, at least in my opinion, that's still kind of open, but we agree on the objective of that, and so it's not worth debating right now. Like,
okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Let's just have this much, and let me make it simple. And
well, just to simplify further, do we need to agree on declarative quote at this time, or can we just remove that?
Well, we're trying to determine if claim and declarative topic are the same. And I think a question to Tim is, when you say claim, are you singling out the conclusion, or are you, for me, the premises are also claims and the argument's also a claim, but I'm not going there yet. The premises are also claims and the conclusion is a claim.
They would be the same. In my modeling, they would be the same type as well.
Okay, so I do think claim and declarative topic are the same. Now, of course, okay, there's a question. Is the argument, maybe I'm doing the argument at the sentence level, maybe I should do it at the topic level.
Yes.
That's what I'm asking, yes.
Ah, yes, good point. And I think that was a mistake of me, frankly. So let me make those work on declarative topic. Oh, come on. And I think that is much better. Sorry, I was wrapped up in explaining and not in thinking, and this is much better.
Sure.
And now the argument is a kind of declarative topic. No, the other way around.
And that's something that will be a point of contention. That has always been a point of contention.
That's always been a point of contention. Yeah, so let me not put it there because it's not part of the consensus yet, but we agree on this much, and I think that's good. So can we erase claim, or can we, I'm happy to say declarative topic is claim, and that's our name for declarative topic, as long as we remember it's a declarative topic in the whole thing. I'm not going to be religious about spelling out declarative topic all the time. I don't care about that. But if we agree they're the same, let's make the equivalence clear, because topic will come back sooner or later at the entity level. Like all this, it's a specialization of the same diagram with entities.
Yeah, I mean, everything we've said so far, it seems declarative topic and claim are equivalent. I would prefer claim because it's the word we always use, and declarative topic is kind of derived from your point of worldview that is harder to explain to outsiders, I think.
Yeah. See, the thing is, for me, claim is not the atomic concept, it's the molecular concept, and hence I want to go to the atomic concept, which is topic.
Yeah, but topic is the atomic. I mean, we don't call molecules big atoms or like complex atoms. we call molecules molecules and atoms atoms.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Okay, cool.
So I guess I want to
aggregates. Yes.
I want to make sure, is my mic really working well? Sounds silent. The declarative, the relationship between argument and declarative topic, I guess I want to clarify what the diagram means there, because you have premise and conclusion. So the argument is the name for the relationship between two claims.
The argument, more than two. There can be multiple.
Yeah, more than, yeah, right. The relationship between the claims. Although if it's multiple, is it multiple at one time?
Yes.
So I can say these three claims have a relationship of oppose.
Multi-premise.
Oh shit.
Well, in general, let's look at the basic argument, which is the Socrates-Barbara syllogism. There's two premises and one conclusion. It's the archetype. The archetype has two premises.
Right. And I fundamentally am opposed to that. But
okay.
The base, more. Yeah, right. I know it's the base logic and the base of this whole field. And I think it's a step too far that's confusing more than useful. But okay, but I understand conclusion is
what's your archetype? Seriously,
well, it's just that there's a claim and there's supports and opposes. I mean, there's an understanding that the thing that's being supported or opposed is a conclusion.
For me, okay, let's get into that. For me,
wait. How would you model the syllogism in the case that there aren't multiple?
Tim, your mic's going in and out like you're covering it or something. Can you make sure it's not physically obstructed?
No, it's my computer sucks, and I got a message at the same time. So
okay.
Yeah. How would you model the syllogism if with only one premise? Would you have one premise that is Socrates is mortal? Socrates is a man and all men are mortal is one premise, or would you have Socrates is a man and then the all men are mortal is a supporting argument?
Well, I hate that example because that's an argument over definitions rather than an actual debate. So I don't know that you run into that problem. I guess we've talked, you've given me an example that's not that. So
the question of either I am a monkey or Jamie is a monkey. Is that and therefore, yeah, and therefore you will hear monkey noises. Is that one claim that either I'm a monkey or Jamie's a monkey? Or would you model it as two separate premises? I'm a monkey, Jamie's a monkey. Therefore,
okay.
Yeah.
The question is, do we compose premises outside the argument or inside the argument? Because I think we all agree we want to compose premises.
No, I think it's the question of, yeah, okay, yeah, that is the question. Unfortunately, I have a hard stop right now. I have a meeting set up with a vendor, so I have to go.
Okay.
But you guys are free to keep talking.
Okay.
I can continue. What about others?
Yeah, for a bit.
Okay, bye guys.
So just one other note: is there a reason? Can't we really remove the declarative quote? Because when I asked that, you talked about declarative sentence and declarative topic, but declarative quote is just kind of a. Can we argue about that later?
We can argue about that later. I was looking for a first thing to put, and that's what came to me.
Sure.
Sure.
And the statement relation, so is that a relation between two declarative sentences?
Yeah.
Or okay.
It's somebody saying, you know what, I think when you say CO2 causes climate change and you say carbon dioxide causes climate change. You're saying the exact same damn thing. So that's itself is a claim, of course, and I'm not going there now, but it's certainly, whether or not it's a claim, it's a relation between two statements saying these two are talking about the same thing. And hence, if they were attached to different claims, let's make sure they're attached to only one claim. How we do that is another question, but we want to unify those topics in my parlance, or unify those claims anyway. I think we all agree on that. We thought there were two claims here. Now we agree there's only one. There's a human operation
Okay,
of
so
saying,
right. But in general, two declarative sentences are said to be equivalent if they are attached to the same claim.
yes. What I'm saying is that the relation comes first and unifying the claims comes after.
Well, in the order of operations.
Exactly. In the order of operations. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Now, whether the statement relation is an event that's forgotten or it's persisted, I would tend to persist it. That's, I guess, a conversation, but
I guess what I'm saying, what I'm thinking is that from a systems perspective, that may be a feature that I expect to be outside the system, and thus it's not a core design model. I mean, that's something that we could argue about later, but first we need to argue that, and maybe we're past that point now to where a declarative sentence, a claim has multiple declarative sentences.
Yeah, exactly. I would first, there's a couple of things here. Right now, you model an association between claim and declarative sentence. One of the main things to discuss here is this composition or aggregation. So I would argue it's composition. You're arguing here it's aggregation, obviously, since you pull in statement relation there. Another thing.
One second.
That's why we need to stick to a default notation of UML, right? Because you added arrows here that don't belong there.
What arrow doesn't belong there?
The aggregation diamonds at the top, they don't have arrows to the other side. And if you model the association between claim and declarative sentence, as you do here as an association, there's no arrow there either.
Okay, there's two questions. Should there be a diamond on the declarative sentence to claim
it's true? Which is, to me, a more interesting discussion right now than whether or not to model a statement relation.
Okay, let's talk about that. I would say the declarative sentence, and it's true that the claim doesn't exist with. Is it true that the claim doesn't exist without sentences? Can we have a claim without sentences? I would argue yes. Can we have a sentence without claims? I would argue no. Hence, the relationship you could.
So I implemented as composition right now.
Yeah, so you're seeing composition here. Is that right? That almost doesn't. If there's it takes time to refresh. My goodness.
The opposite way.
You wanted the opposite way. Interesting.
That's how UML works again.
No. Sorry, I'm having trouble thinking about it. Sorry.
Does a declarative sentence have multiple claims, or is a claim composed of multiple declarative sentences? Which one are you saying?
We agree that to one claim there's multiple declarative sentence. We're saying which is the most natural way to point the arrow is the question.
That's not the most natural. In UML, if one object entity is composed of another one, the diamond resides on the thing that does the composing. In this case.
Yeah, and so this is why I'm not happy with this change.
I'm not talking bullshit, actually.
No, you're not talking bullshit. That's absolutely right. And this is why, precisely why I go this way, right?
I'm only looking at the render right now, so maybe it's not updated, or. And there's no arrow on composition relationships.
No, you know what? Claim has. No, you know what? You have a point. I'm still thinking the consequences in both cases, and yeah, I think you're right. You're right. Claim has declarative sentence which doesn't exist without the claim. Yeah. Okay, solved.
No, this means that declarative sentences do not exist outside of the. Well, no, it means that that the ownership resides, like the lifetime of declarative sentence is determined by claim. That's what this means.
That's what this means, yeah, and that's why I was uncomfortable. I'm uncomfortable with both because on the one hand, in terms of lifetime, it's weird because we will probably create the declarative sentence first and the claim second. So the lifetime here feels reversed. On the other,
well, what this means is, can you create a declarative sentence in a system without also creating a claim? That's a discussion.
That's a discussion, yes. Yeah. And my opinion is no. My personal answer is no, but I'm not religious about that. I am certainly going to assert you can create a claim without creating a sentence. And I know that will be contentious. Can you do anything with a sentence without a claim? I think not. I think to do anything with a sentence, you need to create its corresponding claim.
Yes, and that's the compositionality of it. So it seems like we agree on composition. It seems like we disagree on the multiplicity on the declarative sentence side. I would say one too many. You would say zero too many.
Ah, yes, that's correct. That's correct.
And I definitely would urge you to remove that arrow because it just looks weird.
What do you mean remove the arrow?
There's no arrows on composition aggregation relationships.
What? There's always an arrow in composition aggregation. You're thinking ER, I think. In UML, there's an arrow.
No, but I can look up what OMG says. But I mean, I did teach as a student in the past many years in a row. I do know this fairly well by heart.
Okay, let me check. I've always seen arrows in every UML tool. It's true, it's been a while since I've read the spec, but every single tool I've used had the arrow.
Yeah, the problem is there's multiple standards, right?
Yeah, no, you've got a point, and yeah, you're right. Okay, I'm wrong about this.
On OMG, I also see arrows, so it depends on which version we use, I think. That's why I said we should probably decide one.
Ah.
So this is 2.5 I'm looking at right now.
Yeah, no, you know what? I'm beginning to buy it. Okay, I'll remove the arrow. Done. You meant the arrowhead, by the way, but yes, now I get it. It's like remove the arrow.
To clarify a detail, when we say the claim controls the lifespan of the declarative sentence, does that prohibit us from moving a declarative sentence from one claim to another? No. Okay. I just want to make sure that wasn't.
No, but that's a very good question. That's a very good question.
Because to me, that would mean like, well, if I was data lake modeling this in a database, I would just make the declarative sentence a string on the claim object. but that's not what we want, because we want to be able to move it around. And I think Marc-Antoine was saying that the same declarative sentence can be associated to multiple claims.
So what that means is you would probably, well, not necessarily because it's interrelationship modeling. Right. What it means is that you probably would want to store the declarative sentence as a field on claim. If you want to reuse it, you might store it again on other ones, but you can still model it as a separate entity as well. It doesn't really say how you should model it, but it gives an indication that you might just want to store it directly on there, but not necessarily at all. I mean,
it doesn't preclude us reusing the same string and intending it to be the same object, even regardless of whether we're duplicating the data or. Okay. Yeah. I just want to make sure that wasn't a
discussion.
But that's absolutely right. Thank you for reminding me. A declarative sentence can be associated to multiple claims, so this is a many-to-many relationship. Damn it.
Right.
Because there can be many interpretations of a sentence. Some sentences have multiple interpretations, and hence belong to multiple claims. Joy, so it probably means I need to have, but it's also, no, that's true.
So maybe we should start shutting down now, since people are not quite as argumentative. Marc-Antoine, do you mind posting that image and maybe the code in the
Absolutely.
thing? And
I'm trying to remember, what was the name of your modeling
which one?
Stephen, you put your Kotlin on a Git. Which Git was that?
Blah, 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 something domain model. I'll send you the link.
Because I could add it there.
Yeah, you can add it as a sub project.
Or a file in the.
I would probably have a sub project because I can see that evolving a bit.
Okay, so then I'll just make a project and we can choose to have it a sub project or not.
Yeah, we can always move it. Just put it somewhere in there right now.
Okay, so I'll create a Git repo on GitHub and give you. Do I have your GitHub handles? I should give you edit access on
No,
that
but the
project.
repository is there. I was just suggesting to put it in a subfolder there.
Oh, in a subfolder. Sorry, I thought you meant a sub. When you said sub project, I heard a different Git repo.
By project, I mean like something that can be compiled independently. So probably you want to, it doesn't matter.
Okay. I'm happy with that.
All right. Well, an interesting level of progress in one direction.
Yes.
Thank everyone for their patience.
Thank you.
I'll go ahead and kick you out of the meeting. Talk to you Friday.
Take care. All.
Okay. Yeah. Stephen, resend me the Git URL. I had it, but can't.